You are finally close. The job, the relationship, the goal you have wanted for years is right there, almost in your hands. And then, quietly, you blow it up. You pick a pointless fight with the person who actually likes you. The messages start going unanswered. You leave the big application until the night before and hand in something half of what you are capable of. Within sight of the finish line, you suddenly find a reason to quit. Afterward, you stand in the wreckage asking the same baffled question. Why do I keep doing this to myself? Why do I sabotage the exact things I want the most? If that pattern feels familiar, I need you to hear the most important part first. This is not laziness. It is not a lack of willpower, and it is definitely not some secret wish to fail. What looks like self-destruction is actually a clumsy, overprotective bodyguard, guarding the one thing you cannot bear to lose. Once you learn its name, it loses most of its power over you. Start with the sharpest, sneakiest version of it, because psychologists gave this one a name back in 1978. They called it self-handicapping. The idea is almost too clever to be comfortable. Without ever deciding to, you build an obstacle in your own path, so that if things go badly, you have something to blame that is not you. You do not study for the exam, so a bad grade means you did not try, not that you are not smart enough. You go out the night before the big presentation, so if it flops, well, you were tired. You wait until there is no time left, so the mediocre result was the deadline's fault, not a measure of your actual ability. Look closely, and the logic underneath is heartbreakingly protective. If you never truly try, you can never truly fail. The handicap is not there to make you lose. It is there to protect the one belief you are most terrified to test, that deep down, you might be capable. This is not just a theory someone dreamed up in an armchair. In the very first experiments on it, people were handed a task they secretly could not solve, then told they had done brilliantly. Now they were trapped in a strange kind of success. They felt they had won, but they had no idea how, and no confidence they could ever repeat it. Before a second test, each of them was offered a choice between two pills, one described as sharpening the mind, the other described as dulling it. Most of them reached for the pill that would wreck their own score. Faced with the terror of trying hard and being exposed anyway, they would rather kneecap themselves on purpose and keep a ready excuse than risk one clean, honest failure with nowhere to hide. You run a gentler version of the same move out loud all the time. I barely slept. I did not really prepare for this. I am so hungover. Half of those little announcements are not complaints at all. They are excuses, quietly planted in advance, just in case. Because that is the thing your brain is actually guarding. Not your success, your self-image. An untested dream stays perfect forever. The novel you never write stays a masterpiece in your head. The business you never launch could have been huge. But the instant you genuinely try, with everything you have, that dream steps out of the safe world of what if and into a world where it can be measured and judged and found wanting. And your brain reads that judgment as a mortal threat. So it does something quietly ingenious. It keeps you away from the test. Procrastination, distraction, the sudden urge to reorganize your entire kitchen the day something important is due, these are not random. They are your mind gently steering you away from the edge of being evaluated, because a dream deferred cannot be graded. This is also why the sabotage so often gets worse the more something matters to you. A goal you do not care about carries no risk, so you can chase it freely. But the dream you have quietly built your whole identity around, that one is radioactive. If you pour your soul into the thing you care about most, and it still is not enough, there is nowhere left to hide. So the more it means, the harder that inner bodyguard works to keep you from ever fully committing. Because the outcome you are risking is not just a project. It feels like a verdict on you. There is a second force underneath all of this, and it is even quieter. Your brain does not just fear being judged. It fears becoming someone new. For your whole life, it has been building a picture of who you are, what you deserve, how much good is allowed to happen to you before something goes wrong. And it treats that picture as home, familiar, predictable, safe. Now imagine you actually get the thing, the success, the love, the recognition. That should feel wonderful, and part of you does feel wonderful. But another, older part of you sounds an alarm, because this new life does not match the picture. It is unfamiliar territory, and to a brain wired for survival, unfamiliar means dangerous, even when unfamiliar is better. So it pulls you back toward what it knows. People talk about this as a kind of inner thermostat for how much good you believe you are worth. And while that is a loose way of putting it rather than a hard scientific law, the experience is very real. Let too much good pile up above your set point, and something in you gets twitchy and starts looking for the exit. It picks a fight. It hunts for the flaw. Some part of you manufactures a reason to retreat to the version of life that felt like home, even if home was smaller and sadder than what you were about to step into. What we call fear of success is rarely a fear of the good thing itself. It is a fear of the change the good thing brings. New expectations, more visibility, a higher place to fall from, a self you do not yet recognize. Now for the relief, and there is real relief here. Every bit of this, the handicapping, the retreat, the quiet wrecking of good things, is not evidence that something is broken in you. It is protection. That inner saboteur is a bodyguard who never got the memo that the danger has passed. It is trying to shield your sense of worth from the possibility of failure and shield your identity from the shock of change. It is care aimed badly. Clumsy, outdated, wildly overprotective care, but care all the same. You are not fighting an enemy inside yourself. You are dealing with a frightened part of you that is still trying, in the only way it knows, to keep you safe. And that reframe is what finally lets you disarm it, because you do not defeat a scared bodyguard by screaming at it. You reassure it. The first move is to separate your worth from the result. You are not your grade, your launch, your rejection. When failing no longer feels like a verdict on your entire value as a person, the whole machine has far less to protect and much less reason to sabotage. The second move is to shrink the stakes until there is nothing left to handicap. Make the next step so small it feels almost silly. Not write the book, just open the document. Not transform your life, just send the one message. A step that tiny is not worth building an excuse against. And the third move is the one that actually rewires the pattern. When you slip, and you will, meet it with self-compassion instead of the usual pile-on. This sounds soft, but the research points the other way. People who treat their own failures with kindness bounce back faster and try again sooner than people who tear themselves apart, because savage self-criticism just hands the bodyguard more danger to defend against. So the next time you catch yourself reaching for the thing you want with one hand while quietly cutting the rope with the other, you do not have to hate yourself for it. You can recognize it for what it is: an old, scared, loyal part of you, convinced that staying small is the same as staying safe. You can thank it for trying, tell it the truth, that you are allowed to want this and survive getting it, and take the next tiny step anyway. That is why you do what you do. This is Mindling.